"Why can't I fly like the others?" Lena cried, her wings trembling. She had no idea that true strength wasn't in the wings, but in patience. The morning sun bathed the meadow in golden light as Lena, a young butterfly, fluttered her delicate wings. She had only just emerged from her cocoon, yet she was eager to soar like the other butterflies dancing gracefully in the sky. She flapped her wings harder and harder, determined to fly as high as them. But no matter how much she tried, she wobbled clumsily, her wings trembling under the weight of her impatience. "Why is this so hard?" Lena muttered, frustration curling in her tiny voice. She watched the older butterflies gliding effortlessly, their movements smooth and controlled. She had imagined that the moment she got her wings, she would be free, flying high, feeling the wind carry her wherever she pleased. But instead, she kept falling, barely able to keep herself in the air. Angry at herself, she landed roughly on a low-hanging leaf, frowning. That's when she noticed Theo, a plump green caterpillar, happily munching on a leaf nearby. He seemed completely content, his tiny feet gripping the branch as he chewed leisurely. Lena wrinkled her nose. How could he be so calm while she was struggling so much? "You're still crawling?" she scoffed, folding her wings. "I have wings, yet I can't even fly properly. But you're just sitting there, eating like you have all the time in the world." Theo paused mid-bite, then looked at Lena with a knowing smile. He didn't seem offended by her words. In fact, he chuckled. "Wings don't make you free, Lena. Growth does." Lena frowned. What was that supposed to mean? Of course, wings meant freedom. She had spent so long waiting to get them, believing that once she had them, she could finally fly anywhere she wanted. But now, her wings felt more like a burden than a gift. "That doesn't make sense," Lena argued, flapping her wings aggressively. "The moment I got these, I should have been able to fly like the others. But no one told me it would be this hard." Theo chuckled again, inching closer to her. His movements were slow but steady, as if he had all the time in the world. "Everything takes time, Lena. Even flying." Lena rolled her eyes. "Easy for you to say. You don't even have wings." Theo's smile didn't waver. "Not yet." Lena stared at him, confused. What did he mean by that? And why did he sound so certain? Just then, a strong gust of wind blew through the meadow, causing Lena's wings to flutter. She tried to take flight again but immediately lost balance, tumbling straight into a cluster of soft petals. Her face turned red with embarrassment as she heard Theo chuckle again. "Still think flying is easy?" he asked, raising a tiny eyebrow. Lena groaned. Maybe, just maybe, there was more to flying than just having wings. But she wasn't ready to admit that just yet. Lena sat among the petals, her wings drooping in frustration. The wind had knocked her down again, and she was beginning to wonder if she would ever be able to fly like the others. She glanced over at Theo, who was still calmly nibbling on his leaf, completely unbothered by her struggle. His confidence annoyed her. How could he be so patient when she felt like a complete failure? "You think flying makes you free?" Theo asked, crawling toward her. His tiny feet gripped the leaf effortlessly, moving without hesitation. "I used to believe the same. But real freedom comes when you trust the journey." Lena raised an eyebrow. "Trust the journey? What does that even mean?" She huffed. "I already have my wings. I should be flying by now." Theo chuckled. "And I should have wings too, right?" He glanced down at his plump, leggy body. "But I don't. Does that mean I'll never fly?" Lena hesitated. She had never thought about it that way before. Caterpillars didn't stay caterpillars forever. They eventually became butterflies. But it was different for them, wasn't it? They had to go through some weird, slow process before they got their wings. "But that's different," she insisted. "You have to wait in a cocoon for days before you get to fly. I already have wings. Why should I wait?" Theo smiled, his eyes full of understanding. "Because wings alone don't make you strong, Lena. Just like crawling made me strong before I could transform, struggling will make you strong before you can truly fly." Please like the video and subscribe our YouTube channel. Lena frowned, staring at her trembling wings. They felt weak, unsteady, nothing like the strong, beautiful wings of the older butterflies she admired. The idea of struggling before she could fly properly felt unfair. Hadn't she already waited long enough? "I don't have time to wait," she muttered, standing up. "I just have to try harder." Without another word, she flapped her wings furiously, forcing herself into the air. For a few seconds, she managed to stay up, and excitement bubbled in her chest. "See? I can do it!" But the moment she tried to fly higher, her balance wavered, and before she could stop it, she went spiraling downward, crashing into a thorn bush. "Ouch!" Lena winced, untangling herself. She felt humiliated. She had thought she was proving Theo wrong, but instead, she had proved herself wrong. Theo watched her with a knowing look. He wasn't laughing at her, just waiting for her to understand. "If you rush your growth," he said gently, "you'll never be strong enough to fly high." Lena sighed. Maybe there was some truth in Theo's words after all. She had wings, but she didn't know how to use them yet. She could keep fighting against the process, or she could learn from it. As Theo slowly inched his way up the branch, Lena found herself watching more closely this time. Maybe patience wasn't such a bad thing after all. Lena perched on a broad leaf, her wings trembling with exhaustion. The sun had begun to set, painting the sky in streaks of orange and pink. She had tried everything, flapping harder, pushing herself to fly, forcing her wings to do what they weren't ready for. But no matter how much effort she put in, she always tumbled back down. A sigh escaped her as she turned to Theo, expecting him to say something smug about her failure. Instead, she found him hanging upside down, carefully weaving silky strands around himself. Lena's eyes widened. "What in the world are you doing?" she asked, fluttering closer. Theo didn't stop his work. His tiny legs secured him to the branch as he continued wrapping himself in his cocoon. He gave her a knowing smile. "I'm preparing for my transformation." Lena wrinkled her nose. "That looks like a trap, not progress." She tilted her head. "How is locking yourself inside that thing supposed to help you fly?" Theo chuckled softly. "Because growth isn't always about moving forward, Lena. Sometimes it's about waiting." Lena frowned. Waiting. She had spent her whole life believing that once she had her wings, she'd be free. She never considered that maybe. Freedom wasn't just about having wings, it was about being strong enough to use them. "That doesn't make any sense," she muttered. "You're wasting time. If I had waited any longer in my cocoon, I would have never made it out." Theo paused his weaving and looked at her with wise eyes. "And what if you had come out too soon?" he asked gently. "What if your wings weren't ready yet? Would forcing yourself out have made you stronger or weaker?" Lena opened her mouth to argue, but the words didn't come. For the first time, she truly thought about it. Had she rushed out of her cocoon before she was ready? Was that why she was struggling now? She watched Theo wrap himself completely, his voice softer now. "You think struggling is failure, but struggling is how you grow. Are you brave enough to trust the process?" Lena hesitated, staring at her wings. For days, she had fought against the struggle, seeing it as proof of her weakness. But maybe Theo was right. Maybe growth wasn't something you forced. It was something you allowed to happen. Please like the video and subscribe our YouTube channel. For the first time, she didn't flap her wings out of frustration. Instead, she spread them gently, testing their strength. She flapped once, steady. Twice, smoother. A third time, lighter. A breeze lifted her, and this time, she didn't fight against it. Instead of panicking, she let herself feel the wind, adjusting her wings with patience. She wasn't perfect, but she was improving. She glanced at Theo's cocoon, now fully sealed, and whispered, "Maybe patience is a kind of strength too." Days passed. The meadow was alive with the fluttering of butterflies, and Lena had finally learned to fly with confidence. She soared through the sky, her wings stronger than ever. But something caught her eye. A small movement near the branch where Theo had spun his cocoon. She perched nearby, watching with anticipation. Then, a crack. Slowly, Theo emerged, his new wings still damp and crumpled. He stretched them carefully, testing their strength. At first, he struggled, just as Lena had. But this time, Lena didn't rush to help him. She simply watched, smiling. Because she knew now, growth takes time, and patience makes you stronger. And when Theo finally took his first flight, she was right there beside him, soaring together under the golden sun.